Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first installment of Social School 2021. And if you're here watching this video, then that means congratulations, you made it through 2020. I know it was a year that was full of challenges and all sorts of difficulties, but here we are together. I'm very much looking forward to a new year and us working together on having it be one of the best years of your life. And so as we get into this, what I want to talk about today is just how it is that we move forward. You know, what is it that we need to do in order to make 2021, a great year. And so there are some things that are beyond our control, and then there are some things that we have control over. And so as we look at this, where I want to start is I just want for everybody to just kind of have a little hope in your heart. Optimism, as we talked about last time. Believing that good things are going to happen is one of the very best ways to make sure that good things are going to happen. If you want for good things to happen in your life, you have to believe that they're going to happen. And there are lots of reasons to be optimistic about 2021. First of all, hopefully the vaccine will get around. There might be, an end to this pandemic, or at least a break in it. For some of us, you'll be graduating. You'll be getting new jobs, maybe a new car, your driver's license. There are so many exciting things that are happening this year, or that should happen this year. But we have to work for them. We have to want them. And so as we get into this and we start looking at, what it is that we plan on doing, I think a good place for us to start would be to kind of talk about, how do people manage to get the things that they want out of life? What is it that most people do when they want something? Because hopefully a lot of you have big dreams and you want big things in 2021. So we're going to talk about today what it is that we have to do if we want to make those things happen, if we want to make 2021 one of the best years of your life. So for a lot of people, New Year's time means New Year's resolutions. And so I want to talk just for a minute about what are New Year's resolutions and what they're all about. And so if you're not familiar, New Year's resolutions has kind of been a tradition, at least in the United States, that people have in the new year for what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. And so for a lot of us, the new calendar year means a time to make positive changes in our lives. And so what people typically do with New Year's resolutions is they think about, what it is that they want to do with themselves in the new year, and they kind of come up with some ideas, and they might share it with some people, and they might not. But typical New Year's resolutions are things like, I want to go to the gym more, I want to lose weight, I want to save money. For some people, it's quitting smoking or quitting drinking, or all of those things. And so people set these New Year's resolutions, and in general, they don't typically work out that well. And so there are a lot of reasons why people don't have a tendency to keep their New Year's resolutions. And so as we look at this, we want to think about, maybe there's a better way for us to get what we want out of 2021 than just to set a resolution. Maybe there's a better way for us to get what we want. So over the years, I've been doing some research on these New Year's resolutions, and did a little online search, and I came up with this graphic, and I think it pretty well kind of shows us what's going on here. So again, they came up with a list, and I'll read this for you because I know it's not real easy to see, but they came up with, the top 10 New Year's resolutions. So people want to lose weight, they want to get organized, spend less money, enjoy their lives, get healthy, learn something, quit smoking, help others, fall in love, or spend more family time. And this graphic says that about 45% or close to half of Americans will make New Year's resolutions, and only about 46%, only about half of those people will keep their New Year's resolutions for at least 6 months. And only 8%, so less than 10%, will keep their New Year's resolutions for the entire year. And so as we start to look at this or start to think about it, the question becomes, why is it that so few people are able to keep their New Year's resolutions for an entire year? Why is it so hard for people to get what it is that they really want out of life through New Year's resolutions? I think for a lot of people, the reason why New Year's resolutions don't really work has a lot to do with this picture right here. And so we think to ourselves, yeah, I want to lose weight, yeah, I want to save money or eat healthy or do whatever it is. And we write it down on a Post-it note and we put it on our refrigerator or on a bulletin board somewhere, and we stack them up, and we just don't really think about it too much more than that, other than a reminder. And yes, reminders are good, and I'm a big fan of the Post-it note. But in order for us to really do these big things, to make these changes, we really have to do something more than just put it on a Post-it note. And so as we look at this, I think that we really need to sort of break it down and figure out, how are we going to maybe set some goals or do some things that is more than just putting a Post-it note on the board. And so, having studied this and talked to lots and lots of different people about why, maybe New Year's resolutions don't necessarily work so well, I've come up with about 4 reasons why I think that, New Year's resolutions have a tendency to fail. Reason number 1 is, unfortunately, some of us don't really want the thing that we have New Year's resolutions for. It's very easy to say, I want to work out or I want to go to the gym, but when it comes time, people don't really want to do it. Or if they say that maybe I want to eat healthy or do something like that, then, it's all good and fine, on that January 2nd or whatever it is, to say maybe I won't eat that donut today, or I'll have a salad instead of pizza for dinner. But when it comes time, people don't really want it. And the truth of the matter is, when it's things like, quitting smoking or stopping other bad habits, probably the reason why people have that as a New Year's resolution is because someone else convinced them that, they should do it. So if we want our New Year's resolutions to work, we have to really, really want that thing that we're looking for. All right. Reason number 2 that I think that people really struggle with New Year's resolutions is that a New Year's resolution is really kind of like an all or nothing thing, where as soon as we break that resolution or we don't go to the gym on a certain day, or we do accidentally eat that donut, then people have a tendency to throw those resolutions out and just act like, nothing ever happens. Like, oh, you know what? I blew it. Why should I bother? I'm not going to stick with it. And it's that all or nothing thinking that we talked about in the cognitive distortions that really gets people into a lot of trouble, so that if for whatever reason they don't manage to stick with their resolution on any given day, then they have a tendency to just give up. Another reason why people, I think, really struggle with New Year's resolutions is they don't have a good plan. Maybe you want to save money, or you want to get a good job or a different job. But if you don't have a solid plan for how you're going to do that, if you haven't written it out in good steps, then it becomes very, very, very difficult to do. And so we need to come up with a good, solid plan for how we're going to achieve these great things in our lives, and we need to write it down. And the last one is that typically with New Year's resolutions, we don't have a tendency to share our resolutions with the people in our lives that really matter. If I tell my entire family that, I'm trying to eat healthy, then maybe when we go to the grocery store, and they remind me that I might not be able to get, the sort of things, the junk food that I want or whatever, and we don't tell the people in our lives that really matter about those things. And so as we move forward, we're going to try really, really hard when we set these goals, which is something that hopefully all of you are going to do. We're going to set these goals and we're going to make sure it's something that we really want. We're going to make sure that it's something that we stick with, even if on certain days we don't make it. We're going to write out a good plan, and hopefully we're going to share it with somebody. And if you do those things, then your New Year's resolutions really are a lot more about goals and goal setting than they are about resolutions in the first place. And I think that if we were to look at statistics, when people set good goals that they really want, they come up with a good plan and they write it down and they share it with people, then those goals are much more likely to come true. And I don't have the exact statistics, but I think that, when people practice good goal setting and goal setting for themselves, and they really go through this step-by-step process, then, I would say that at least twice as many people are likely to achieve those goals than they are to achieve those New Year's resolutions. And so as we look at this goal setting process, there is kind of a basic concept that we have to kind of get our heads around if we want to be successful in that. And that is the difference between short-term and long-term goals. And as far as goal setting, one of the biggest factors is the amount of time that you give yourself to achieve what it is that you want to do, want to be in your life. Maybe one of the things that you want to do is you want to make a lot of money. I've had students before tell me that, they want to be a millionaire one day. And that is definitely an achievable goal. Lots of people do it. Is it likely? In my lifetime, I'm probably not going to be a millionaire, but over the course of my life, I have made $1 million. And so when we look at goals, I kind of want to start with that long-term goal because that's something that people are a lot more familiar with. Maybe there is a career that you have in mind, and as a co-op student, hopefully you've already started doing some studying or some thinking about careers that you want to have in your life. Maybe you want to be a welder, or maybe one day you'd like to create your own video game or be an anime designer or an animator. Whatever long-term goal that you have for your life, that is definitely a good place to start, because once we set those long-term goals, maybe you want to get married and have a family. Maybe you want the exact opposite. Whatever it is in the long term, you have to kind of start with the big picture and realize what it is that you really want out of life if you're ever going to get there. Because once we do that, once we figure out, what are my big goals, what are my long-term goals, then we can start to break that down into more manageable pieces. And that's where the short-term goals come in. If you're one of those students who are graduating this year, maybe you've already started thinking about getting into college. But before you do that, you have to figure out, how am I going to get into college in the first place? And that's where we start to break those long-term goals down, our career goals, our life goals. We start to break them down into little pieces. And one of the most basic pieces of that puzzle is just going to be doing the work that's in front of you. You have to pass all of your classes. You have to get the best grades that you can. You have to fill out financial aid forms. You have to apply to the college that you want to go to. You have to know what college it is that you want to go to. And so as we do this big term, long-term goal setting, we break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. And that short-term goal setting really does help us to kind of figure out a plan for how we get there. Now, This process is not easy. And not today, but in my next installment, I'm going to break down for you guys what it is that you have to do in order to, come up with some really good short-term goals that are going to help you achieve what it is that you want to do. Maybe in the short term, it's just turning in all your homework on time, or if you're saving money, maybe the first step of that is just getting a job, or getting a job that pays a little bit more than, the job that you already have. And so if you want to make 2021 the best year ever, what I strongly suggest is, we put those New Year's resolutions aside and we start thinking about some serious goal setting, what it is that you want out of your life and how you're going to get it. And like I said, in the next video, I'm going to break down a process for you called SMART goals. And with these SMART goals, we do all of the things that we talked about in the beginning, the reasons why those New Year's resolutions didn't work out, right? We're going to make sure it's a goal that we want. We're going to make sure that we have a good plan. We're going to write our plan out. We're going to share that plan with other people. And so as we do this, as we go through this process, what I want more than anything, my goal for 2021, is just to help you guys to get what it is that you want out of life. And so as we do this, as we go through this process, I want you to start thinking about, what are your goals? What is it that you want out of life? And then next time when I come back, we'll figure out, how we're going to make all that happen. But where it starts, you got to dream. And I just encourage everybody in 2021 to dream big. Right? Those good things are going to happen if you work for them, if you set good goals. And so that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody's time. Once again, Happy New Year to all of you students and teachers out there, everybody watching this. I wish you just the best 2021 ever. And thanks again. Bye-bye.